What's up? What's up, everybody? Thank you for your patience. We had some technical difficulties, but we are live. We got everything figured out. I am your host, the champ, the Cabrini kid himself, David Haywood. Over to my left, I have my co-host on IG, Mr. Perkins to you, the Leo himself. This is birthday month. Y'all say happy birthday to him. This is birthday month.
It is. It is indeed my birthday. A Leo was born a week and a half ago. A king was born a week and a half ago. I love my Leo people out there. If you're a Leo out there, tap in. Tap in if you're a Leo.
And then directly below me, I have our esteemed guest, Miss Krista Joyner from the West Coast. Krista, say what's up to the people that may be watching.
Hey, from the West Coast. Nice to be here. So happy to see you guys and be part of this.
Thank you so much for taking the time. And then to her left, we have her attorney, her esteemed counsel. We have Miss Cris Armenta here joining us on the show as well. Cris, say what's up to the people.
Hello. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed getting to know you guys already, and I think this is going to be really fun.
Perfect. We have our first commenter. We have Felix, who is one of our esteemed guests. He has been on the show a couple of times. He's frequently in the chat. He is saying "Que pasa" to everybody in the chat. He is checking in. Sorry, Felix, we had some technical difficulties. I know started a couple minutes late, but we are here. So we're gonna kick it off. Today's show is gonna be about experiences and how they shape our views and choices. Felix said, "Damn, attorney, some serious questions about to be asked." No, not that serious.
Bring it
on. Not super serious. Krista, you are currently going through a divorce proceeding. What has getting divorced changed about how you felt like you would be at this point in your life? You know, I feel like, you know, you hear a lot of women say, you know, at this point in my life, I felt like I was going to be married with the kids and the house and the car. And now a portion of that is coming to an end. What do you feel like that means to you? What do you feel like that says about like where you are in your life right now?
Such a good question. I feel like it means kind of like a rebirth in a way. I don't look at it like, wow, you know, I anticipated to be, you know, in any particular place. You know, I had the house, I had the cars, my baby. So I feel like I've done everything that you would really aspire to do. Like the reasons you get married for those reasons. I feel like you want to have that family. And, you know, of course, in getting married, you want it to be forever. That is the goal. But unfortunately, it doesn't always work out like that. So you kind of have to readjust your thinking and go, well, it wasn't forever. It was for a period of time, and it was a lesson learned, a lot of lessons learned.
And then, Chris, in your line of work, I'm sure you have probably seen a lot of women in Krista's position who are now entering a period of rebirth, a period of growth. From the other side of the table, you know, what can you say about what you've seen, you know, in your profession as an attorney? Obviously, not getting too specific, but
Right.
what can you say about the things that you've seen as an attorney for?
Well, let me say this. So I don't know if you know, but I represented 100 women in the Harvey Weinstein class action, and a lot of women had a lot of dark stories. And you see divorces, like especially a public divorce played out in the news that's sometimes unfair to someone like Krista. And, and then you see what had happened in the relationship, whether there was a lot of women come with, abuse stories or cheating or financial fraud or being dismissed and being chipped, your personalities chipped away. But I will say this, that I have seen a common thread in mostly women that I represent. I mean, most of my clients are women who've been through something really difficult. And I will say that from dark stories emerge brave women. And I have seen a lot of brave women go right through the middle, through the hard stuff, and get to the other side and then engage in this process that Krista described of healing, of rebirth, of finding out who you are, what you want, what matters. And I think it is a metamorphosis that a lot of women go through. And I'm really happy that I've gotten to be a part of it. And I'm really proud of Krista for being so brave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Krista, what would you say was the scariest part?
I think the scariest part was coming to the realization that the relationship was ending, even though, you know, my ex-husband, I know that that wasn't the desire. Um, I know that, just coming to that realization that it's just really over, like too much has happened where you get to a point where you can't repair it. It's just so done in every way. There's no way back. That it's just like events keep happening. And I feel like it snowballs when you start a proceeding like that where you're, separating and there's so much anger and emotion happening at that moment. And then it just gets worse and worse. And then things start happening. And I think that that was the scariest part for me is just having to go through that little part of it where it was like, wow, is this really happening? What are we doing? I've been with this person 20 years. And, I never even imagined what was going on at all. I know a lot of people probably would find that weird. They think, oh, how would you not know, the things that are going on? But you wouldn't because, you know, in my example, I mean, I had no idea what was happening. None. I was, he was home most nights, like called me all day, called me on FaceTime all day, called me when he was gone, called me before he went to bed. I mean, it was like a lot of things that I just didn't pick up on. And then it it felt like a car hitting a wall. Not that I've experienced that, but I could imagine that this is how it would feel.
Right.
And
Right.
and it was just like learning all this stuff that was really happening was pretty disturbing. It was almost like I don't know this person. Like who are you talking about? This is not the person I've been with 20 years. Like who's this man? And so it was just pretty scary to um go through that process and like learn about somebody that you think
Mhm.
and also know that like those promises, like for me marriage is very serious, so I take my vows serious. And I thought like, okay, if I'm getting married, I have a family, we have a son. We lost our first child, so our second child means so much to us. And I would never have imagined that he would have done the things that he did. um it was just hard. Those were the scary times to really just kind of go, oh my gosh. And then of course, like, now what, when you get in a position where you're separating, that's scary because we had a house built all custom, we had this whole lifestyle together. And then it's like you could just see it kind of unraveling in front of you that you worked so hard for as a couple. And so I think that was really scary.
Mm-hmm. Geneva checking in for the first time tonight. She said, you never really know someone, especially when going through a divorce with them.
Yeah.
Um, and that I feel like that's one of the things you always hear about divorce is that it brings out the ugliest in people and situations.
Yeah.
Something interesting that you said that I was thinking about earlier today. Actually, a couple different things. One of the things is that Chris, you said, it plays out very publicly. And me and my sister were talking earlier about the Sha'Carri Richardson and her boyfriend situation where they were seen in the throes of a domestic violence incident at the airport. And we were kind of going back and forth and debating this, and she was like, they're 20 something years old. And it sucks because they're in the limelight. She's an Olympic athlete. He's an Olympic athlete. There's cameras following them everywhere. And they don't get an opportunity to mess up without it being front page of the news, newspapers, the internet, whatever the case is. And I think that there's a lot of layers to that where you could say, Krista, what is it like having to live in that spotlight, but also having to, like, were you aware and cognizant of, if I go out the house in sweatpants, is TMZ gonna be like, oh, we caught her in sweatpants, look what she looks like, does that, like, as someone who's not famous, does it suck to have that in the back of your mind where you're like, I can't be normal, and that's
Yes.
just day-to-day stuff, as opposed to now you add in that there's turmoil, there's an issue, there's a problem going on, this is going to play out publicly. Like, is that always in the back of your mind that, like, when I leave the house, I got to be on point 24
Oh,
hours a day, 7 days a week?
yeah, it does. Like, it makes you think about everything you do. Like, um, definitely, because I know that anytime you just don't know like who's gonna see you or make a comment, or who knows you from social media, who knows you from, whatever. It's, you always feel like you're on guard. And then when you're eating dinner, like we'd be at a dinner and people are staring, taking pictures. And, I remember one of the first outings that we went to when I first started seeing him, and it was a UFC fight in Vegas. And I don't know if it was like the lighting or what it was, and my, I'm in skincare, so I take care of my skin, right? And so I'm not much of a tanning kind of person. I didn't tan my face or whatever, but they said, "Oh my God, her face is pale and her body is tan," like stupid things like that, where you're just like, it was just hard to like look at those kind of comments. Or, of course it goes into racial comments too, like, oh, I'm Turkish, just to put that out there. But like, people would make comments like, oh, what, why is he with this woman or whatever. So I think that those are really difficult things to deal with. And yeah, you always feel like you're being looked at or judged. And yeah, I wouldn't go to the store like not somewhat put together, just in thinking like, I wonder if someone would take a picture, or I wonder if someone's looking, or
We
you
caught
just
her in the
don't
frozen
know.
food section with her
Yeah,
shoes, and her jacket not matching.
yeah, like somebody to say, you know, anything. I mean, it's really embarrassing, like to have people stare at you and judge you when they don't even know you, and it's, you still deal
Right.
with it. I mean, I've gotten some pretty hateful messages, even going through the divorce, where, people don't know the situation at all. And they'll say stuff. And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy, but I adjusted to it, and I try to stay kind of, in the background for those reasons, because I'm like, I didn't sign up for this, he did. So,
Mhm.
and people are mean to him too. I mean, it's a really rough life to be in the limelight, to have people really critique you at all times and make comments. And even when I started to find out like the truth of what was going on, and that wasn't until we were literally separating. Um, people would send me pictures and be like, is this your husband? Just really embarrassing things where you
Mm,
feel pretty traumatized by, people doing those types of things. It's embarrassing.
mm, mm. KP, do you feel like you could live under that type of scrutiny?
But being a celebrity,
Yes.
oh man, You're asking the
Knowing
wrong
your
guy.
like, if you look at your life over the past week, do you feel like, as a celebrity, how that would have played out? Knowing that there's paparazzi at the dog park,
Everywhere. They're everywhere.
paparazzi going into your work.
I can't. I'll say this. Of course, I can't imagine what kind of scrutiny that is. But Geneva is 1,000% correct. I would, I think about being a celebrity every single day. I think about being a celebrity every single day. I wish I was famous. Granted, again, I am not in it, so I don't know what that is like and what that feels like on a daily basis. So I can never. But I think that I think me personally, I think that celebrities. I think it's all about how you go about it, in my personal opinion. And this is someone who watches a lot of TV, someone who is low key fascinated with all of that. I think granted, I'm sure the pops can be super, super annoying, but I also think that there are celebrities that do embrace them to some degree, and it's a lot more seamless with their interactions. Again, not every interaction is going to be great because you have those people out there that are people. That is why we love people, because every single person is different. So not everything is going to be horseshoes and rainbows at all times. I understand that. But at the same time, I personally would love for little kids or for people to come up to me and ask me for my autograph or want to take my picture or like, I mean, yeah, that would be awesome.
I
So
think
I'm
it's
probably the
fun
wrong.
at first. I think it's fun at first, and then after a while, it becomes like a
Oh,
lot,
I bet.
especially in settings where you're just not even like trying to be in that kind of timing. Like you're at Disneyland and you're just trying to get on a ride, and you have somebody going, "Excuse me, hello," and you're just like, "Wait, I look crazy right now. I'm about to get on this ride." I don't
Yeah,
really
I
want
can't
to do that.
imagine.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not the celebrity, I can be the arm candy of a celebrity female. And if that is what I mean, again, I'm sure it's annoying. I
Yeah.
totally in agreement with that. I'm sure it would get old quick,
Hmm.
But you
but
want to experience it to
But you
find
need your 15 minutes.
out.
You
oh
want
yeah,
that 15 minutes?
give me 15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes. I would parlay that until at least 30 to 45
I would
for
say
sure.
this. I would say the perks, and I know this is like a big thing. I would say the best thing about it is the perks. Like, if you go to a restaurant, you are never waiting for a table. There is no such thing as, oh, we don't, you can't, we need a reservation. Like, no, they see you, you get sat within minutes, like no matter where you go. I mean, there's so many benefits. I mean, just all kinds of things that you can't, or like, this sounds crazy, but even in the store, if you like Louis Vuitton and they have a launch and they're like, oh, we just launched this new collaboration, you get to see it before anyone else. Like just certain things where, people roll out the red carpet for you. And I'm sure it's even more grand for, real A-list type people that just, you don't have to do anything. People cater to you, literally. They really do. So
Mm.
I think that is probably the best part of it. I wouldn't say like the pictures is the fun part because you know, that can
Sometimes
be
you be
a
looking
lot.
crazy.
Huh?
Sometimes you look crazy.
You could have a long night and be really tired and not really want to be in a photo. So that could happen. But yeah, there's some great perks to it, definitely. But there's a lot of pressure to it because you have to maintain that, when you, especially with my ex, like, he had a show, Pit My Ride. So of course we always had nice cars. We had a lot of cars. And when I met him, it was kind of interesting. He was just ending Pimp My Ride and he was doing some film and TV. And I was an executive. I was a C-suite executive for a beauty company. So I literally had my own thing going on too. I owned my own house. I had owned 4 houses before I met him. So I wasn't one of those people that comes in and has nothing to offer. I was actually the offering. I think I, brought a lot to the table.
Mhm.
Chris can agree to that.
I've seen the
And
financial records. Krista brought everything to the table.
yeah,
I think he had filed bankruptcy twice, 2009, 2010.
he
And
did.
$500 to his name. Yeah.
So he was not in the best place after a while. And it was like, it can be depressing because when you are used to being in that situation where people love you and they expect so much of you as this celebrity, as this rap artist, as this entertainer, and then, you just aren't, great with money or things happen, it can be embarrassing. And so I ended up, just trying to motivate him and get him out there like, okay, you're great, you're amazing, you could do this, meet our neighbor, they do cannabis, you smoke cannabis every day, you should be doing the cannabis industry,
Smoke
like,
weed every
things like that.
day.
He smokes weed every day.
But I think Mr. Perkins would do well as a celebrity because, and this is my take.
That's
Because
what he wanted. That's
he's
what he
like,
wanted to hear. That's what
I
he
think
wanted.
he's got a solid foundation. Okay. And so what happens with celebrities who don't have a solid foundation, who maybe have trauma or have not solved their problems, this whole adoration from fans becomes all they have, right? And so it becomes, they can ride the ups and the downs, but if it isn't there, then it becomes a disaster for them because they're getting only external validation. So I think that's why you see a lot of celebrities crash and burn or have a lot of difficulty with the public part of it because they don't have that solid foundation already. That's why I think Mr. Perkins would be a very good celebrity.
See, Chris, I like you. I like you, Chris.
And one thing I want to say about that is there's a lot of truth and a lot of weight to what you just said, because I think that people who like, and KP could probably attest to this. I mean, you guys could probably attest to it as well, but I know KP for sure. Like, if you see, let's say you see a guy who's in the NBA, right? And he's not handling the fame well. He's getting in trouble. He's always in the news for the wrong things. He's, it's one thing after another. This is somebody who just got famous, right? They don't have a foundation, like you said, where they kind of grew up in that and they're used to it. They're so new to it that they don't know how to handle it. Whereas you take someone else who might be in the NBA, whose dad was in the NBA, whose grandfather was in the NBA. They grew up shooting around on NBA courts. So when they make it to the NBA and they're in the spotlight, it's not anything new to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, take Steph Curry, for instance, right? We see little videos of him all the time on the court with his dad, who was in the NBA shooting around. So Steph handles it very differently than Anthony Edwards is handling the fame. And
I didn't know I had to study sports to be on this.
I know, I'm like, I don't even know.
But no, I agree 100% with what you're saying, is that you have to have a foundation to handle it. You also have to have a certain type of personality to handle it too, which is why you think KP might be very, very well suited to be a celebrity.
I agree.
I think you have 3 votes for being a celebrity.
I agree.
We just need to get you an agent. We need to get you an agent.
Let's go. Let's go.
What's going on with your camera, Krista?
Is my camera not on? I don't know what's going on again with my.
We saw you for a minute when you were moving it around.
Yeah,
There you are.
There you go.
Okay, good.
Okay. Hi.
There's a whole bunch of females that I would love to do like one of these two. So like,
You're like, look, I made it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, success is often the best revenge.
Yes.
It really is. Yeah.
I agree.
For sure.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. So I got divorced 13 years ago. It took me a long time to heal because toxic. My kids don't even talk to him. But I recently moved back to the small town in Montana where he lives, right? So I'm like, I really don't want to run into this guy. He doesn't even talk to my kids or anything like that. But in the last 13 years, I've had a lot of successes in my career and financially because of my career. And I did it all by myself. I financed my entire law firm when I got divorced on airline credit cards. I was like flying Delta. I'm like, give me that credit card. American, give me that credit card. Everything was financed on my credit cards because everything was tied up in the divorce. But you know what? Success is the best revenge. And coming into my own without the help of anybody. And I think Krista is on that path. And I love that for her. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure she has the best opportunity possible.
Thank you.
Now, Chris, touching on that, Krista was speaking from a perspective of a person who is actually in the situation going through it. As the person representing that person on the other side of it, once the relationship has ended, now you're trying to figure out the details. I would assume that you probably experience a certain level of notoriety yourself, where people might see you and say, "Oh, you're the person that's representing those 100 women in the Harvey Weinstein case," or "Oh, you're the woman who's representing Krista Joyner in this proceeding." Like, is that would you equate that to the same level of notoriety as the counsel for that person?
Only on a microcosmic scale. So like if I'm in the middle of a thing, so years ago, I did the Benghazi case that arose out of this YouTube video, and I was on The View and I was on Dateline, and I was on all these shows. My client was under a death threat. We weren't even allowed to step foot in the airport. So we had to get escorted to the planes in police cars. I mean, there was a lot of notoriety then. It was scary notoriety. Sometimes when I'm in a big case, I do get a lot of attention, and I got to hand it to you, Mr. Perkins. I agree. It's kind of fun. It is kind of fun. I don't mind it because I am not as famous as someone like Krista. I can go to the grocery store, in basically my PJs and flip flops, and nobody cares. So I'm good with that. But I think it's fun. I mean, I'm not to the point that I get irritated because it's not at that level. But I will say managing people sometimes, or on some of the more difficult cases that deal with missing children or criminals or stuff like that, you have to be careful. Celebrities have to be careful too, because there are a lot of crazy people out there. A lot of laws have changed to protect. Like the DMV is now, confidential. It didn't used to be before that that model got slashed in her face. But, by being famous also, Krista, these celebrities are putting themselves out there sometimes for danger, right? And that can be also a little bit scary because you never know what someone in the crowd is going to do. You never know what someone, who stalks you is going to do. And, stalking is real and it can be a little frightening. So I've done some of those stalking cases too. Not the stalker, but putting some legal boundaries around the stalkers. That can be pretty frightening. So.
Yeah, I think it's very eye-opening to take into consideration, when you have an opportunity to speak to someone who's lived that life and continues to live that life where it's so public, and I don't really know how you square that away. Krista, are you anticipating for the rest of your life to be like that? Or do you want to, I don't want to say fade away into obscurity, but do you want to be more private? Do you say like, I would be more comfortable if I could be more private and closed off? Or do you say, you know what, I'm in the limelight, I'm going to stay in the limelight and make the most out of it while I can?
I think it's both, to be honest. There's like parts of me that go, maybe I can help other women by still staying in the limelight and giving, shedding light on these situations. And Chris and I have talked a lot about that. There's things that I'd love to do to really help other women going through this exact situation. So in that way, like I would want to do it where it's helping other people more than just to be out there. I'm not that kind of person. I'm really about like, what can I do to change the world kind of thing. I want to change things for other people. And then there's, the obscurity part of it where I just love my privacy. I love keeping my life private and just what I do. I mean, I'm not a person to put everything out there. As you could see, I just don't. I rather just keep my personal life really private at this point, aside from the divorce thing. Number one, I don't want to cause any inflammatory reactions.
Mhm.
And I just feel better by being private. I enjoy my privacy. I love my home and my private life. And I don't want to share that. That's something I like to keep personal, um, to myself. But again, on the flip side, I want to do some things that could actually help other women. Um, and I know Chris agrees with me on this because I think the laws are really insensitive, not helpful to women that have gone through a lot of what I have gone through and am going through.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't make sense. When you go through a divorce, you're just like, none of this makes sense. So aside from all the intense emotional stuff, you're dealing with legal stuff that's just, I don't know when it was created, how long ago, but a lot of it is absolute garbage. I swear, it's shocking.
Hey, that's my profession. No, let me just say, Chris is
Sorry,
right.
Chris.
A lot of it is absolute garbage. So I handle a lot of high profile civil and complex cases. And I often have to tell my clients, it is not the hall of justice. It is the hall of injustice. And we got to take our best shot because I see so many mistakes, errors, misunderstanding, unfairness, racism, just I see so many things inside these courthouses that would really shock people. And sometimes judges not paying attention and making the wrong decision, and you actually wonder about their motives at some times. I mean, it can be really frightening. So unless you have someone to fight for you, it can be very, very hard. I think, though, your question about Krista being in or out of the limelight, I'll say this. I'm going to predict that you will see Krista make her own limelight. And I think that's the direction that she's headed in. We're going to get through this rough spot, this challenge we have ahead of us. We're heading into a trial. And once we get past that, I think that it'll free Krista to make her own way, which she's been doing, but I think it'll be a lot better. Yeah. I don't think you need to stand in someone else's shadow, Krista.
And I don't want to. I absolutely don't want to. I mean, I think that was just a part of my life. My life has changed dramatically. And, kind of going back to the beginning where you kind of see your life going one way and then, you're just kind of railroaded, I guess. And then you go, okay, well, I need to make this shift. Now I'm going this way. And that's kind of what's happening. And what's been happening is I've just, cultivated a whole new life for myself that I feel actually happier, better, more at peace. I'm so much more at peace. And, it's funny, it doesn't have to entail being with another person. Even though I am involved with somebody, it doesn't have to be about that. That has nothing to do with happiness. Like my happiness came from myself and just being, really clear on the directions I wanted to go and just taking care of my son. My son is my priority. His father is not present at all. He hasn't even actually seen his dad in a year. Um, and he really doesn't talk to him. I mean, the best that my son got on his birthday was a text message just saying, "Happy birthday, kid." So I, I don't know what to really say more about that. But because of that, though, I've had to really step into being mom and dad, like a dual role, and, take care of things. And, there's been some really crappy things that have, I don't even care about myself. I just care about my son. Like the things that he's done to my son are pretty intense. And, like my son's a straight A student. He's been in the same school since he was in early kindergarten. And, when someone gets petty and they just feel like being petty, they just decide they don't want to, you know, pay for things. And, we were splitting it 50-50, which is cool. I'm okay with that. And then he just decided not to pay anymore. He just stopped paying. And my son like got an award in French, and he's a really good kid too. Like, I can't say enough about my child. Like, he's the best kid, and I'm so proud of him. And to treat your child like that when you can literally afford it. You're going on vacations and you're spending money on other people, but your son's education, which should be such a priority, my son went through so much with this divorce proceeding. It's really taken a toll on him. And the one thing I wanted to keep consistent, which, in therapy, we've had a therapist, she agreed that that's the one thing we had to stay constant with. And then he just decided, no. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I just know that I took care of it, that I wouldn't allow that to happen to my child.
Sometimes there's got to be a grown up in the room, and Krista, taking care of not just herself, but taking care of the economic, emotional well-being of a growing young man is a really big responsibility. I mean, what Krista said about being a mom and a dad is really funny because when I got divorced, my kids were 3 and 8. So I've been a mom and a dad. My kids are now 17 and 22. I taught them to use all the tools. I taught them to use all the drills. My dad was a Marine, so they learned to change a tire too. They learned to, service their car. They learned to change the oil. I was like, I can't fall down on my dad duties. But, then it came to there was when my son hit puberty, I was like, uh-oh. I'm a little stuck here. So
yeah,
uncharted territory.
I tried to call him a friend of mine and appoint him the ambassador of male hygiene, manscaping, and sex, so that he had someone that he could talk to that wasn't mom, because that's just right. You want to talk to a dude,
right?
So there's a lot that has to happen when you're the mom and the dad, and not just the physical things, but like Krista said, safeguarding their emotional well-being. That's tough. So yeah. You're doing a good job, Krista. I see you.
Thank you. And
your
Chris
kid
is an
awesome.
amazing mom too.
Huh? And he's awesome. I love your kid to death. He's the best.
And he loves you. Chris is like part of our family, and Chris is, I'm learning from her too. When I see other moms that have gone through it and they're so strong, and I look up to Chris so much, because just aside from being an attorney, as a friend, as a mother, as someone who's gone through this and came out the other end so strong, that is to me, I love women empowerment. I love seeing other women that can do that, and I respect it so deeply. And my son just loves her. And but she's done such a great job with her kids, and it's just a testament to what kind of person she is. And becoming that mom is really important. When you love your children, that's your number one. That's what you just step into that role. So I'm like mama bear for sure. I'm protecting my child, and I don't want to see him hurt emotionally anymore. So that's
Right.
probably been the hardest part. Like, I can get through a lot of the other stuff. Some of the other stuff is just, I don't even care. It's more about what is being done to my child that just throws me over the edge. I'm like, oh my God, why would you do this? Kind of thing.
Right. Right. Geneva said, what are some of the garbage? I'm assuming she's saying, what is some of the garbage in the laws? Do share.
Okay.
And before you answer, I will preface this with, let me preface this with a question. And we talked before we went live about true crime. You said you're a true crime fan.
Totally.
Are you familiar with the Karen Reed case?
Yes.
Are you familiar with some of the other cases that have happened out more in your area? Because you're in Montana, so like the Lori Vallow case and other cases that have happened like in Idaho and Utah and.
Well, I just moved to Montana 2 months ago. I am a California attorney. I am an LA girl, but.
Oh, we got. California got plenty of cases. We got the Menendez brothers coming back up. So, having gotten that out the way, what are some of the things that you have seen in law that you can talk about that you don't agree with?
let's take judges, okay?
Mhm.
I have seen judges that do not read the papers and are unprepared, and they are being paid by our tax dollars. And so you spend a lot of money on a lawyer and you spend a lot of time preparing, and you go to court and it dawns on you that the judge hasn't even read the stuff. Now, I've been before a lot of fantastic judges, so don't get me wrong, but it does happen. Or you see a judge that's outcome oriented. In other words, they look at who you are, they look at who they are, and they're like, I want this side to win. And they kind of manipulate it. And you can tell when that's happening. I've seen, it came very late in my career because I was so Pollyanna. I've seen a judge behave in what I thought was an extremely racist manner. And I took it to the powers that be. And that judge is no longer on the bench. But the actions I took were at great personal and professional sacrifice. I cannot practice in that court anymore. All those judges hate me because I took somebody down, or so I think. At least that's what I think happened, given the sequence of events. I've seen judges not, it's something about, like, if a judge is reading and being very fair and really thinking, and there's so many good judges like that, at least you feel like you got a fair shake. And I do see that. But sometimes I don't. And you get, it's so infuriating to be like a warrior in the trenches and then to feel like you're not fighting a fair fight. That happens. And that's not fair. It's like going to a fight and it's already rigged, And I think that for me is the biggest thing because, obviously I've seen lawyers that lie and clients that hide cash and pretend it doesn't exist. We've certainly seen a lot of that, Krista.
Oh, yeah, we know all about that.
I think the biggest thing is that the judge is supposed to be in charge of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have huge caseloads, right? So that makes it difficult. But I think that we just have to keep fighting. Krista and I have talked about us doing a podcast about warrior women and the fight that you have to keep on doing, because if you don't do it, then the default is injustice. Right. It is all the time. Yeah. So fight.
Yeah. I mean, staying silent is a lot of people would say is akin to complicity. So, not using your power, not using your platform would be a waste. Me and KP, we are who we are, but we may not have the reach.
But haven't you ever had a time in your life when something happened and you were afraid to use your voice because of personal or professional repercussions? Or yeah, that happens, right? Yeah.
100%. Krista, let me ask you this question, and I think that this is a super interesting question, because I think that when you see high-profile divorces go down publicly, obviously people viewing it from the outside have a certain perspective of what each person contributed. And I think that from a woman's perspective, what I've been able to gather and understand is that a lot of times women in these marriages have to give up higher education, have to give up professional opportunities, have to give up developing certain things about themselves that they might want to investigate in furtherance of that marriage. Can you speak to what you feel like? And some of those things might be tangible, some of them might be intangible, but can you speak to what you feel like as a woman that was in a high profile marriage that you gave up that would have been personal to you? You know, like if you say, hey, I had a scholarship to go to college over here, but I didn't take it because of this, or, you know, things like that.
That's such a good question. There was something that I did give up. So as I mentioned earlier, I, was a C-suite executive in the beauty industry, had a long career, and was forced by my ex, and there's several witnesses to this, to quit my job. I had the owner of the company even call me to say, what's going on? You've been here, like, why would you quit? And I had shares of the company, so my payout was very substantial. And I literally was forced to walk away from that payout because he felt like it was important for me to be home, and we didn't need the money. He had the money. But it was, to me, it wasn't the point. It was like all those years of hard work that I did, that I put into my career, that meant so much to me, that I had an opportunity to reap the rewards. I would have just gave it to my son and put it in an account, something like that. And he was just really adamant about, me walking away from that. And I literally did. Like, in hindsight, I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And it was definitely a huge amount of money, life-changing money. And I walked away from it to be his wife, to go on tours with him, to travel everywhere, to, cook for him, clean for him. I mean, I did everything. Yes, we had help too, but trust me, I was a real wife. Like, I was cooking all the time. I was like a short order chef, I swear. He'd be like, I feel like having fried chicken, and I want greens, and I feel like having like a certain type of waffle. I mean, it was done. I would make it. And so that was something that I gave up, that really was pretty difficult for, I think, most people to go, okay, I'm not only giving up my career, but I'm walking away from this money that I worked so hard for 13 years, and, built this company, and now I'm getting nothing because, the person I'm with wants me to walk away. And so I made that choice. And so I can't blame him entirely, because I made the choice to agree to it. But he was very aggressive with it. He said if I didn't do it, he'd email my boss and tell them I quit. So it was kind of like, well, I guess I'm quitting no matter what. And then I helped him like fulfill his dreams. You know what I'm saying? I really helped him like build the cannabis, and, be the backbone for everything. Anything he needed, I was like right on it, like, oh, you need me to do this? Okay. And I'd run out and do it. He'd be at the studio, and he'd call me at midnight and say, okay, I've got 10 guys coming over right now. And he'd be like, make us tacos. And I'd be cooking tacos. I mean, I literally did anything and everything you could think of to be the best wife. And, just to put this out there also, I was extremely loyal. Like, I never cheated on my husband. I wouldn't even like look in the direction of another man ever. I was completely 100% loyal, completely dedicated to our family, and devoted. And again, I did not know what was going on. I had no idea. He was really good at keeping things secret. So secret, in fact, I'll never forget. At the end, towards the end, there'd be a number that would pop up, and it was under 42 West. And I tell Chris this all the time. And I kept asking him, I was like, what's 42 West? And he's like, oh, it's a PR company. And I was like, a PR? Why is a PR company calling you at 7 in the morning? And he'd say, oh, well, they're in New York, which would make sense, right? You'd think, well, okay, maybe, that's true. It was just so many things like that. But, the lying was so extensive that, you just kind of go, God, how dumb could I have been? But, you just don't know. When you love somebody a lot, and you have a family with them, and you want to believe the best in that person, you believe those things, and you do things for that person that, like giving up substantial amounts of money that you earn from a company that I believed in him, and I believed that we were going to be together till we were, forever, I guess. So
Krista, I think that a lot of women do what you did, but I think you're so giving that you did that. But my view, after seeing what I've seen, I think it had more to do with the male ego. It takes a very remarkable man to be next to a woman who has strength, a career, makes more money, has more corporate background, more education. I mean, you know, that can be threatening to some men, I think. And I think
No,
that
no, wait, now hold
maybe
on,
not these guys.
hold on. Now we gotta pop in. I'm gonna let you finish, but we're gonna pop in here in a second. Go ahead.
But like I said, you guys have a good foundation. Not everybody has that. So if you meet a guy that gets all his validation from like the wrong stuff and he's got a strong woman, that might be hard on his poor ego. You know, and I think a lot of women do make that mistake. I mean, but it's not a mistake. It's a thing that women do that is as old as the hills. So even when I was in college, one of the classic authors I studied was a woman named Virginia Woolf, and she wrote a book called A Room of Her Own. And the theme of A Room of Her Own is anytime a woman, you know, goes along her life, whether she gets married or not, she should always keep a room of her own, which is a metaphor for your own money, your own education, right, your own space to write, your own space. And I think a lot of us get lost in a marriage sometimes. And it takes a while to remember, and it takes a special guy to help you remember and to support the idea that you are your own person. You are not just the appendage of the other person. So I know you became that appendage, Krista, you know, but now is your time to be you.
No, and you know, he was very much about, you know, he presented things to me where it was like, oh, you know, I've been there, done that. I like smart women. I don't want to be with someone who's not intelligent. And I'm college educated. I'm career driven, obviously, and you know, so you know, it seemed to be that's what he wanted. But then, you know, I think what happens when you get really caught up in that particular lifestyle of entertainment, especially the rap part of it, is that there's a lot of alcohol, there's a lot of, you know, a lot of drugs, there's a lot of, you know, women. And it just, I think it takes a toll. It's like, you know, if you can't control your lustful ways, then you succumb to that, right? And I think that, you know, I always thought, well, you know, we've been together so long, he's getting older, he's maturing, he's, you know, he's going to be done with that. No, I mean, I don't think it's about that. I do think it's very clear, like what Chris said, that it's such an ego boost. And when you're so used to that, you just crave that. And there's no amount of boosting of someone's ego that you can give them, even as, you know, I could tell them every day, oh my God, you're so handsome, you're so amazing, you're so great. And it didn't have the same effect as some other stranger saying the same thing. You know what I mean? It obviously was a validation that I just could never fill. You know, it was like a well that you keep putting water into and it just keeps draining out the other side. It just didn't matter.
Well, so Felix said the house should have 3 rooms, one for him, one for her, and one for you both to share. You won't lose your individuality in a marriage.
I love that.
That's great. I really think that's smart.
Geneva said they all say they want that, but some can't handle it.
This is true. This is true.
Like it takes a special guy to be able to handle that. So,
here's from a male perspective, obviously, and I've seen women say on social media before that men will feel threatened by them for things that they have accomplished on their own.
That's a generalization.
Some. And my response to them has always been, has a man actually ever said that to you? And some women have said, well, no, but right. I can tell. And some women have said, yeah, I've had guys say that to me. And it sounds so foreign to me. KP, maybe you could chime in here and say, in my dating life, I'm 42 years old. In my dating life, I've been dating since 18. Let's just say 18, right?
Yeah.
I've never felt threatened by what a woman had, because I think that as a man, naturally, we want to provide. right? I don't think that a man will feel threatened, and this is not to take away from anybody's situation, but I don't think a man will feel threatened by what a woman had. I think a man would feel threatened if a woman had X things but didn't let him contribute. I think that might be a little bit more
But you're talking about a strong man with some good values, some good self-esteem, and some good self-worth that's not going to be threatened. You take a man that has ego problems, doesn't feel that he's valuable, is maybe angry at the world, has trauma, feels like he has to prove himself, and you put him next to a strong woman, and there is a disaster going to happen,
It kind of, at first it seems empowering, but then it can become almost a power struggle, because I'm not a person to back down, like, because I am strong, just like Chris, like, we're strong women. Like, I've been independent. I had my mom died when I was really young, so I was raised by my dad, and he wasn't around that much. So I've always been super independent. So I'm not a person to not speak my mind. So if I don't like something, you're gonna know it. I'm gonna say it. And so I think that can kind of produce a challenge to a man that is really egotistical, because they are the alpha male. So, and I like that, trust me. I don't want to be that. I want a man to be the man, but I also am not going to sit back and allow certain things. As a woman, I still have boundaries that I feel are so strong that, and I'm not, I'm educated, so it's not like I'm not educated to where I'm going to sit there and accept things that I know rightfully are just completely crazy. So, that's where I think the rubber meets the road with a man that is like that, where it becomes an issue, because, it's like a standoff. And I think that that's kind of what's happened through the divorce, is it's been a standoff, because we're both on a, chess table right now. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to move my queen, you're going to move your king, so it becomes that. But, men like that also need that challenge, because when they date women that don't provide that challenge, it fizzes out at some point. It's not going to last, because a man like that needs that kind of mental stimulation. So they want it, but then they don't want it, if that makes sense.
But so let me ask this question, KP. Do you feel like you've ever dated a woman? I'm not even gonna say dated. Do you feel like you've ever communicated with a woman that you were interested in, that you felt threatened, or emasculated to an extent?
No, I've never dated a woman that made me feel emasculated, and I know a couple women right now that are multimillionaires, and it wouldn't. I think that's hot. I think I said this on the podcast before.
I love that.
I think that when a woman has her own. Me personally, if you've heard of the song "She Got Her Own" by Neo with Jamie Foxx and Fabulous, that's the epitome of the kind of woman that I would love to have. So if you listen to that,
it's good to know there's guys out there like that.
Well, yeah, he's a secure man. See, you're secure. A secure man will feel that way, but a man that's really, they could have this big ego in public, but this little like insecurity outside of that, and they don't feel that way. They can't handle a woman like that.
No, I think it's hot. Like, I'm not, when I say it, like, I think it's hot that a woman has her own money. I think it's hot that when, if like the song says, don't get, I never did that bad to make me even have to, but even if I had to, you'd be more than glad to. Like, basically, I don't have to go in my pockets, or you don't have to go in your pockets. But if you did, you would be more than glad to go in your pockets if you had to for me. Like, to me, I think that's hot. Now, some men, they have an ego, things of that nature. And in a part of me, yes, of course I have an ego. But when it comes to my woman, if she's doing better than me, I think that is great. I think that is great.
Well, that's
Now,
good.
yeah, I think that is great. Now, now if she's doing better than me and I'm struggling and I'm paying for everything, that's where I differ. That's where I'm just like, no, I'm not. This ain't working. This not gonna work.
Oh no, I mean,
but let's say you have a woman who has her own, you're struggling, but she makes you feel less than because you're struggling. When y'all get, like, let's say y'all get in an argument, right? You get in a fight.
It's below the belt.
Hits you below the belt, throws it in your face. I'm paying all the bills. You ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
Say goodbye.
Bye. Yeah, that's not love. That's not love. I think because life can change in a second. And going back to what I said when I met my husband, ex-husband, he was doing okay, but he had a lot of debt. He owed a lot of money and different things. And, and I was doing really well. I had I was fine. So, but I helped pay, like he moved, into my home and we built that out and I didn't ask him to pay for anything. He,
KB said, no, first mistake.
Well, I know this. Listen, there's certain things I know. I actually bought him a Rolls Royce Phantom. I did. So I mean, imagine just putting him
Too
back
far,
on.
Krista. Too far.
I know.
KB, like, you got a little sister or something?
Man, yes. Do you? Like, what's up, man? Yo, if she's looking for somebody tall, attractive, fit,
Yeah.
But those two guys are out there. I'll say my favorite two boyfriends that I've had since I'm divorced. One was like the head of, I can't even tell you how big a government budget was, but he was so like charmed and excited by what I did. And was like, oh, that's so cool. That's strong. That's hot. Like he loved that. Right. The other one was a Navy commander and like the same. He wasn't threatened. He was like, oh, wow, what are you doing? Wow, that's cool. You're going to be in court. Like it was exciting to them to see something big and powerful. And so that does exist. Krista and I, we pulled the short straw the first time around, but
Was your husband not like that?
My ex-husband?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got a big old ego and he's toxic and grew up in the ghetto. Not in the ghetto. He says he grew up in Beirut because he grew up in an abusive family, but I don't think that gives him the right to pay it forward to the rest of us. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that men that are damaged and have problems and have ego problems, that's a harder pairing, but I think that there are definitely some really solid men out there. I know, because I raised one. I got a really solid kid. So,
Same. Same.
So Krista, what do you feel like is next for you in life, in love, in business? Like what is the next chapter for you?
All of the above. I think so with business, I mean, I'm just gonna go up. I mean, there's sky's the limit. I'm not one to sit around. I'm always gonna make money and put myself out there to continue to grow and cultivate new businesses, things I'm working on right now. And like Chris mentioned, different podcasts, different things that we want to do.
Man, I got some stuff coming down the pipe too. We need to talk.
Okay, let's talk. And
Chris, you can facilitate.
we got to facilitate these things. It's about actions, right? And then with love, listen, I'm not jaded. I still believe in it. I know that sounds crazy, but I do believe in having someone special with you. And so
would you get married again?
I was just going to ask that.
Yes.
That's a no.
I'm doing the prenup.
Chris is going to do the prenup, of course, but
It's
yes,
gonna be
no, I mean,
ironclad.
I would if I, if it's real and we are just, I feel like it's meant to be and that's what it is and that's important and that's something we want to create together, then yes, of course. I'm not opposed to that at all. But, right now I'm really happy. I'm in a really good place. So I'd like to keep it that way. I want to remain in a good place. And I just feel, I'm really excited about the future. I'm excited, just getting this kind of wrapped up with a big bow and be done and just look forward and not back at all. I think there's been so much pettiness that's gone on that it's been really disappointing. And just to wrap it up with this, I feel like when you are with somebody and especially, a 20-year situation, that is your best friends. You're supposed to be. So
20
it's
years.
just
That's a long time.
it's
20
a long
years is a
time.
long time.
It's a long time. It really is. And he used to kind of joke about it, but the truth is that you're friends, and it's so sad that when a marriage ends, so does the friendship. There's no friendship. It's like so it's kind of disappointing when you look at marriage in that perspective, like, wow, I'm just never gonna talk to this person again. We're just not friends anymore. We just pretend like we don't even know each other. It's a weird thing. So that kind of turned me off to the marriage thought at first. I was like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to do that. But what I've done is really given myself time to heal. I didn't really jump into anything crazy, and I'm just now really in a good place where I feel comfortable to be more serious. And, I'm looking forward to that. And, but again, keeping it just to myself, like there's no reason to, put that out there. I'm not one to like, post pictures. I just don't see the necessity in doing that. Because I feel like a relationship is between two people and private and, um, you know, there's no need to publicize those things, right?
Hmm.
But I'm excited about the future. I feel good about it. I feel happy. So I feel
So,
like
quick question.
only good things can come.
So, quick question, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you can answer this or not. I don't want Chris to give me the side eye,
I
but
might. I'll let you know.
but 20 years, right?
Yeah.
When did you know mentally that it's time?
When we separated. And
So
and
at year 20.
yeah,
Wow.
when I realized what was really happening and it was denied for so long. So to give you quick perspective, in 2019, him and I went to therapy and, my son was there. My son remembers the whole thing. And he said, "Oh my God, I love your mom so much. I want our family. I love her. I love you. And I don't want to be with anyone but you." And that was the end of 2020 or 2019. Um, I believed that, but then the behaviors were still like there was something in my gut. As a women have really good gut instincts. I knew something was still off. And
It's called
when
hormone.
I got the confirmation of it being off, the way I found out was pretty crappy. Can I share that story, Chris, or should I not?
No, you don't have to. No, you don't have to. I only
Yeah.
asked that question. I only asked that
Yeah.
question because you know how most women say, I was with so and so for 10 years, but I knew after year 7 that this was going to be like, I just emotionally, I was out of it. You know what I mean?
No, I think that I was in it for the long haul. I mean,
Okay.
there's peaks and valleys in every relationship where,
No,
you're more in love, less in love. There's certain things.
Whoa. We lost you, Krista.
it's okay. So, Chris, would you ever get married again, or remarried, or are you remarried?
I would get remarried.
Nice, nice.
I haven't found the right person, and I'm really
Are you,
busy. I don't have
Yeah.
time for anybody. Are you
Yeah.
are you in Montana or what?
I'm in Montana, but
I
I'm
mean,
trying to
it's,
retire so I can make time.
it's slim
But,
pickings in Montana.
Well,
but
Yeah.
there's
when
airplane tickets.
when I when I realized, like when I found out the truth and it was so hurtful, that's when I was like, this is no, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be a kept woman in a house. Well, because again, he was not wanting the divorce. He just wanted to, kind of see what happened. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not that woman. You're not going to keep me in a house and I'm not going to date and just sit here and you're going to go off and it wasn't just one woman, just to clarify, there was multiple. It was, there was one
Hey,
that stuck around for,
Krista, Krista,
reasons.
Krista. I'm going to give her the hook on that. Like I said, we have a trial coming up. Maybe we don't want all our surprises to come out here.
Yeah.
Right.
Really, it's not an issue in a divorce anymore in California, how much someone is a dirty, rotten cheater. But what is important is when people hide things like money and things like that, at least for the trial we're going into. So, but I think, Krista, it's hard to know you've been deceived. And especially when you're with someone, and I think a lot of men and women experience this, when you find out something that you really believed was one way, and then suddenly you're like, whoa. And
it's shocking.
The loop,
Yeah.
So
that can be very hard.
So I have another question. And this is a chill question. So,
look at Chris face. You're like,
I'm waiting to. I should have brought a buzzer.
I know. I'm the live wire of the show, always, but it's not anything bad. You about to enter this very cesspool that we call dating in 2025, whenever that may be. How do you feel about that? I'm sure you have girlfriends, I'm sure, that are single. Yeah, I mean, Chris is single, and she probably talks about men that she deal with. I'm sure you guys are tight like that and things of that nature. So how do you feel whenever that may be that you join this cesspool? I call it the cesspool because I'm in this nasty cesspool that we call a dating pool. So how do you feel you're going to handle that? Like, or are you excited? Or are you just ready just to kind of just chill for? I mean, not anything serious. I'm not asking that, but what are you looking forward to or not looking forward to?
Well, so I feel like I've been in this real healing stage for a couple, years, like the 3 years or whatever, 4 years, that I've really took time for myself. And I do have a special someone that I am with. So, I'm not looking forward to being in the cesspool because I've heard so much about it. Everyone complains greatly about how bad it is.
You got a special sometime friend?
Yes. So special person. And the thing is that it is pretty crazy out there. I mean, I definitely know that it's not a cesspool I really want to be involved in. I'll say that. And I'm more about like quality of a person. So that's really what I look for, is like, how well do we vibe? What kind of person am I dealing with? So I'm kind of in a place where I don't want to go in the cesspool. Makes sense. I'm not trying to be in the cesspool at all.
Geneva said, curious, have you ever used a dating app?
Never. Not once. You can check. I've never, ever been on a dating app.
So,
Chris, what about you?
Have I been on a dating app?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take the fifth on that one. Actually, the two boyfriends I had that I really liked, I met them both on dating apps. Yeah.
Nice. There you go. I mean, I'm not bashing it, just so you know. I just haven't personally done it. I was going through a healing phase, and I dated one other person, I guess, lightly, and it was just not. It was not cool. It was not good. So then I was like staved off, and then I met somebody else that I thought was really a good person that is a really nice partner.
So how does one who has been through what you've been through, knowing that men and women too, but knowing that men have weird ways of hiding things, how do you go into something new and trust the fact that they are too being genuine as well?
She hires me to do a phone complete background search. No, I'm just
Listen,
kidding.
Chris is my go-to. Chris knows.
People
You
finders,
don't want to mess with
$5
Chris.
a month.
Chris will do. Chris could have a whole company just based on like background checks and people. All I have to do
No,
is
it's a
talk to
good question
Chris.
though, Krista. You should answer. I didn't mean to make light, but yeah.
Well, I'll say this. The trust is definitely an issue. I don't think I think there is a PTSD that comes from what I went through, a very severe one. So for me, I will be honest and tell you that I do have like super trust issues based on how much lying was done to me. Um,
Understandable.
it's been hard. And I was really upfront about that. You know, when you date somebody, I think that's something that you have to tell them, like, look, I'm a PTSD person. Like these are my boundaries. Like I can't handle it if you do this, this, or this. It's gonna just put me in a tailspin. So it takes a special person that can be really patient, of course, and understanding to what has happened to really be with someone like me, where I do have, a lot of issues and I want to have a lot of transparency because of what I went through.
Hmm.
So it's hard. I mean, I'm still a work in progress. I'm getting a lot better.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
But I think I've gotten so much better. And I'm not a person like, I'm very laid back. I'm not like, I don't want to follow someone around. I don't want to check your phone. I don't want to do none of that. Like, if I have to do that, then we should just not even be together. So then there's that. For me, it's like, that's too time consuming. I have way too much going on. I don't have time to do all that. I don't want to do it. I just want to know, like, we're on the same page. And if something changes, then just we're adults. We talk about it. That's it.
I love that.
That's how
I
I
love that for
feel.
you.
Don't want to be following a man around at all. Like, my son was telling me kind of a funny story, and just you know, with a person that his dad is, has entertained, and saying that they're on, find your friends or something like that. And I said, the day I have to do that, it's really over. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. Like, if I just can't trust you, then we just aren't going to be together.
Kids will always tell on you.
Kids tell everything.
Kids
That's
are
great.
always gonna tell on you.
They come back and they tell you all kinds of fun stories, and you're just like, really? Wow, okay.
Hey, I do want to ask another question because because I get ridiculed about this all the time on this show. But how long for?
Oh Lord!
Oh, you asked that question. I saw that.
What is it? How long? What?
If you do whatever, have a special whatever in your life, how long did it take for you and this person to say that it was quote unquote official, if it's official?
Oh, I thought your question was how many dates till you slept with someone.
Oh no! See, I was trying to be nice. See, Chris is trying to bring it out of me.
A different episode. You watched a different.
No, I read that online. I'm not a good reader.
Chris is trying to bring this. She's trying to bring out the spicy Keinon. I'm
Chris
trying.
Chris did her research. Chris has
did
done her research.
for real.
I'm trying not to be spicy, Chris, just because I'm trying. So
Oh, I see. You PG'd it for us. I got you.
Till I'm official? Well, I mean, I think that.
Or what's your opinion on that?
I can only say.
No. What's the timeline first? What's your timeline first?
I mean, I think it depends. I think like if there's a really like strong chemistry and it all works, it can be kind of quick. It can be like, within a month, like, okay, this, like we're really vibing. Like, this is good. I like this person. Whatever,
when you know.
Trust me, when it's really actually the first date. You go out with that person on that first date.
He says no.
Okay, I'll tell you.
And you just kind of get a vibe of that person. I will say that, traction is strong. Chemistry can be a real thing.
So
I will say that.
When I started dating, guys, mean, some guys are really nice, but sometimes they just really just want to jump in the sack with you. It's very.
That's the goal.
It's so.
Every guy
it's
wants
so
to do that.
yeah, I know, but like when
What'd she say?
it's just like no one's really trying to get to know you. They just really trying to get you into the horizontal position as fast as possible, and it can be very irritating. So I started this thing when I was dating. I'm not really dating that much anymore, but when I was, I would say, oh, I have a rule. Like we can't even like think about having sex until 5 dates, right? And so that went okay, except for the guys who would be like, wait, what date number are we on? And I'm like, The whole point
Right.
was
If you set the precedent, we're gonna try to beat the precedent.
Yeah, now they're counting. I'm like, no, that doesn't work either.
I feel like it's based on chemistry too. I feel like that you could be with somebody and you just have like this intense, immediate
100%.
chemistry, and it just
100%.
really, and then, you might, then there's slow burns, right? Where you could be with somebody and it could just be over time, but I'm not a slow burn person. I seem to attract the like intense chemistry people.
That's probably where the issue is. That's probably where the issue. You're not taking your time. You're not taking your time.
KP, tell them what your timeline is.
Yeah, what's your timeline?
What is your timeline?
I firmly believe that I personally probably couldn't call someone my girlfriend within the first 6 months.
Wow, 6 months?
I agree.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
I don't know.
I just so much stuff about someone later, and you're like, "Ooh, really? Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Like you don't know."
Krista, I'm me and you on the same page. I'm like,
I'm like, wait a minute, 6 months. Oh God, I'm checked out at that point.
Chris, these people are falling in love with people in like a week or two, and within a month.
That's something, but it's not called love.
I don't. Yeah, it's called something else.
Yeah, it's called lust.
It's called lust, but I think like I would think like after a month, you kind of know, like especially because we're adults, we're not in our 20s, we're not in our 30s. It's like you kind of go, okay, I know this is like I'm really liking this person. We like each other. I'm not saying you're getting married, but I'm just saying you can make it more official, because if you are sleeping together, you're having those kind of interactions, then I think you have to, not having that kind of understanding would be uncomfortable.
So just because you guys are sleeping together, sometimes that's what women get misconstrued. Just because you guys are sleeping together, that doesn't mean you're together
all the time.
Yeah. There are some guys.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But then there are some men and some women who, let's say, for instance, within that month or two, they still have residual females and dudes that they are messing with, that they probably haven't broken off yet, that they're still dealing with, because they don't know about you yet. Yeah. But they know about this person that they've been dealing with this entire time. When you just came into this picture a month or so, or two or so, a month or two or so. So that person is probably still in the picture to some degree. They're probably still doing stuff with this person while they are trying to figure out what's going on with you on this end. That could take a month, 3 months, 6 months, because this person over here, it's what it is. It's
now
okay.
I know what you do. Now you just told on yourself.
He just doesn't want sloppy seconds.
Oh no, we don't do sloppy seconds over here, Chris. We don't do sloppy seconds.
But
over here,
you just said something important, because basically you're saying that comes. I feel like that's a fear-based thing. You're like, okay, I don't want to let go of the people I have, because in case this person doesn't work out, I still got, I still have this kind of decent relationship. But like, see, to me, if you really like this new person and it feels really good, like I'm a focused person. I can't do that. Like I have to focus on the person I'm with. So if I like them, if I didn't like them, then I probably wouldn't care so much. But like, if I'm really thinking it's somebody of substance, I'm going to want to focus and figure it out and go through the process. And I wouldn't want to talk to someone else.
Yeah. And the key is just finding that someone of substance that is your person of substance,
Yeah. In this day and age, I don't think that's possible.
Geneva said it depends. If you learn from past mistakes and know what to ask and how they respond would determine how quickly, and of course the chemistry.
Here's the thing.
It's good advice.
I agree with that. I agree with that, because I feel like the older you get, the more you realize I'm not asking the right questions. And the better you get at asking the right questions, the quicker you get to the answers that you need to progress in that relationship or that communication, that relationship. So I firmly believe that within a month, depending on how much y'all communicate and the quality of the communication, I firmly believe that in a month, you could be like, I really like this person. I'm willing to cut off other people that I've been talking to see this through.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with that. Now, will it work out? Who knows, right?
Maybe.
But you at least, like Drake says, when I see potential, I got to see it through.
That's it. See,
If
I'm
it don't
that.
work out, you move on to the next person. Like.
So you're just creating this forever rotation of just 3 months. That didn't work out.
I think it's
3
fair to
months.
focus.
I mean, if it doesn't work out, yeah. If it does work out, you stop.
Yeah, I think if it's someone worth seeing again, it's someone worth seeing exclusively till it's done.
That's how I feel.
I agree with that.
I'm not a good multitasker when it comes to men. I'm not a good one. I'm not going to do that. I'm not into it. It doesn't feel good to me. Like I have to focus on
See, but that's the thing. You don't have to be. The dude will be.
Well,
that's the thing.
But see, here's the thing with that. Okay, if that's what it is, if that's what they want to do, then that's not someone I want to mess with. That it's like either they're in or they're not. Like they're
that's
in
my
it.
question. How do you know? How do you know? Dude, the dudes can do things on the side.
You know it when you see it.
You know it as a woman. You feel it, and you get wind of it.
Wait, hold on. So I'm gonna put my lawyer shoes on here. Chris, I'm gonna put my lawyer. You didn't
what?
She didn't see it. She said that earlier. She didn't. She said that she didn't see it earlier. She said that's what she said. So
him cheating,
all the stuff that was all the stuff that was going on.
Well, he was a good liar. He was an exceptional liar. Let me tell you that
right. So that's what I'm saying. So what if you meet that man that? Again, I don't condone cheating. I really don't.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? Live your life in a vacuum? At some point, you have to have faith, and you have to have trust, and you have to put your heart out there at the risk of it being broken. Otherwise, you don't get it. So
Geneva, I'm not rotating. Excuse me. I don't. I'm
like you're not rotating.
No, I'm not rotating.
I think this. I think
I may be rotating, but it's not dating.
I don't think. Sure. I don't think most men have the access to what my ex had access to as far as all kinds, that is not normal. It's not a normal life. So I think that there's that. So, but even with that, even if they did, I mean, it's the man, right? So like, I'm not going to ever really know. I mean, you're not going to know, especially if someone continues to lie to you, you're going to think, okay, but what made it hard for me to know was all the phone calls and the reassurance that was so insane. Like, I mean, when you have someone calling you at midnight from their hotel room, you're like, how could they be with someone else? Like, where is that other person? He's alone. Okay, he's cool. Like constant I love yous and stuff. So, I mean, someone could go, well, that, that doesn't mean anything, but it did to me. So it meant, I just didn't see it. But I can't believe that every person.
They always say that women who've been cheated on will always say, I knew something was up when his behavior changed, when he switched up. So if you keep up the same behavior, you may go under the radar.
How am I supposed to know when someone goes, oh, I'm focused on business, I'm focused, and there was never anything weird. I can just share one little thing where
we don't. No.
Wait a minute.
No, just a very small thing. It's a very small thing. It was, and it's to the point of you just don't know. Like I always thought, like when people cheat, they do it at night. Don't laugh at me. I don't know why I thought that. I'm like, oh,
man, daytime sex is the best.
Well, I realized that that's really what it was. So there was a day where I was given, money to take my son shopping, and I said, oh, I'm going to be going, to the Palisades, to a store that my son liked, and to get there, we have to get off on Sunset. So if you live in LA, you would know where that is. And there's a big hotel right there. And he was like, take my Ferrari, here's a bunch of cash, go have fun. I'm like, okay. So we're getting off the freeway, and my son at the time, who was like 9, was like, Mommy, isn't that Daddy's car? And I'm laughing, but it's not funny, at the hotel. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I just saw it. I go, are you sure? Because he had this special kind of truck. It's very distinct. And I said, there's no way. And so I drive and I see like that is his truck. Like his truck is there. And I'm like, oh my God. And I go, oh, maybe he has a meeting. I'm just thinking like, I don't want my son to know, right? My son called and was like, Dad, your truck is at the hotel. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm not there. Somebody has my truck. But it was in the middle of the day. It was at 1 o'clock in the middle of the week, and it was just so shocking to me for whatever reason, as dumb as that sounds. I was just like, oh my God, like he had just told me he was going to be at the studio, and I'm thinking, okay, he's at the studio. And again, like I'm not a person that's going to be an investigator. That I don't want to do that. So I couldn't believe it. Like, I believe God puts things in front of you when he wants you to see it. And that was like right when everything was happening, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, this is not this is so bad. And but you know so I look at it this way. I look at it, if someone were to do that again, I would, I believe that you're going to find out. Even if you don't feel it, something will come to the surface.
Yeah, I mean, like I just think in this day and age of dating, and since you will be or whatever soon or is in this, even though whatever,
Yeah.
I think in this day and age that I truly do believe that there are a ton of good men out there, but I also believe that there's a lot of dirties out there, and
Yeah.
they know how to do what they do, because to some degree, I personally think that some women give those guys the playbook to do what they do behind their back.
It's possible. I mean, I do agree with
What,
you, and I think it's
because
it's
because I think there's some men who, regardless of how old they are, when I say dirty, they're good at playing to whatever you feel is a weakness of yours. So if cheating is a weakness of yours, babe, I would never cheat on you. I would never
I'm
do
calling
that.
you. I'm calling you every hour
I'm,
on the hour.
I'm calling you all the time. So you don't even think that I'm cheating on you. But I got another cell phone, or I got
right.
something else over here, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, again, I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying that you have to live in a vacuum. Like Chris said, you have to take the risk and find love.
Yeah.
And if a man or
Gotta be
woman is going to
vulnerable.
cheat, they're going to do whatever they're going to do regardless.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like, man, it's just so. And I'm single. It's just so hard in this day and age in 2025 to trust men and to trust women.
I agree. I think it's both sides, and I'm not trying to put
He
it
said,
all
"Don't
on
trust nobody."
to be a
I don't.
man basher, because I think women can be just as shady. I definitely know that there's women out there that are, they have their own agenda. I mean, it's very clear. So I think that there's women with agendas and men with agendas, and it's just kind of sifting through that. How do you find trueness? You just have to take a leap of faith, really, and hope that, your discernment will help you figure that out.
But
Trust
sometimes,
yourself. Trust yourself and trust
Yeah.
your gut.
Mhm.
but sometimes that discernment could
It's
lead you
clouded.
to is clouded, and that person who you are discerning against could be a really good dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that too. I mean,
So
I
it
think that,
sucks.
yeah, it does
You
suck. I
know.
mean, I've definitely thought about that too. I think that I've felt like that. Um, but then it's just not meant to be, and in my mind, I'm like very much about, if it's meant to be, it will. So, I think you get put in positions where you're supposed to be for whatever reason. So I've gotten to a point where I'm just like going with it. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm not gonna overthink it too much. But I feel like if it's supposed to happen, it will. And I just kind of let it play out.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we are crossed over an hour and a half.
I know. Oh
So
my God.
let's go ahead and wrap. We're gonna go in reverse order. Krista, what do you have to say? Closing thoughts. What do you have to say to the viewers who are watching tonight? The people who are gonna watch going forward into the future. What are your parting thoughts?
My thoughts are just to, I still believe in love and have an open mind and, but to also, I think not to let somebody waste your time or try to, tell you something like trust your truth. Know that, if someone's saying to you, oh, it's, a PR company or whatever, you have to do what's right for you. You can't let somebody convince you to stay when you know in your heart it's the wrong thing. And sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. And it is scary to do what I did. I could have just stayed. It was a comfortable situation in terms of other things, but it was a really bad situation in terms of emotional damage. So I think as a woman, you have to really decide like what's going to make me the most happy, and a lot of women might say, "Oh, I could stay if I'm having my house and my car." But that isn't true. When you really love somebody, it's really hurtful to be in a situation like that. And I think you just have to be true to yourself and do what's right. And you have to, think about your kids when you have kids and what's good for them and what's going to be the most healthy for them. And we want them to be good human beings too. So I think just, being true to yourself and making decisions that are going to benefit you in the future is the best advice.
Love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, next. Counselor, Miss Cris.
All
What
right.
do you have?
Well, here's my takeaway. The biggest one is it's nice to know there are some wonderful men in the world. If they could all just line up to the left, that would be fine. But
Form the line to the left in Montana.
I think when it comes to relationships and divorce and going through these difficult things, all you can do is believe in yourself and fight for yourself. When even the opposite, when it's talking about holding on to a marriage or holding on to a relationship that's valuable, fight for that. I mean, everything in life shouldn't be about fights, but a lot of people give up really easily, both in the relationships or in court or whatever it may be. And I would just say that, like Trista said, be true to yourself. Remember who you are and love that and figure out where you want to go and get there. Someone told me this great saying, I think I stole it from a book, which is figure out what you want to do. And every single day, everything you do should be a consistent action toward that goal. So is it towards healing? Is it towards financial success? Is it towards a great relationship? If you're working on a great relationship, then everything you should do should be sort of to support that, right? So I just think that it's important for people to remember who they are and fight for themselves. And if you can't, get a good lawyer.
There you go. Hire Cris. If you're lucky to get Cris.
Fight for yourself, and if you can't, hire somebody who can. KP, what you got for us?
Krista, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you taking out the time to tell us a little bit about you and your story. It seems like you've gone through a lot, which, people on this podcast probably sometimes think that I have a disdain for women sometimes because I think, in this day and age, I think it's just tough out here, Yeah. But I came from a very, very strong woman, and I was raised around strong women. And that is something that I truly, truly, truly do value. is a woman that is strong and a woman that can stand on her own. That is something that I truly do find invaluable in a woman who doesn't have to depend on a man. And if she did depend on a man, when that man left, she had her bearings enough to stand up on her feet and become successful, so on and so forth. So kudos to you, because not only are you going through it with that situation, you also have a child that is also having to go through it. So you're dealing with two hearts and not one. Damn, that was good. Two hearts and not one.
I love that.
Damn, you gotta put that on a
good.
t-shirt. That's good.
That was good.
That was good. That was good. But anyway,
Thank you so much.
No, but I think you're awesome.
Thank
You know, like kudos to you, Cris. Definitely, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, we got her lawyer coming on, but you've been a pleasure. You've been a breath of fresh air. So thank you so much. You've been so personable, and you know, I love that. I'll definitely try to follow both of you. And I appreciate the compliments earlier. So Krista and Cris, if you guys know any talent agents, or you know, if I need an entertainment lawyer, you know, hit me up in my inbox. You know, I'm down to start off slow. You know, I'll do commercials. You know, they're looking for a tall, good-looking guy with a great smile. You know, that's me. But anyway,
1,000%.
No, but appreciate you guys for hopping on, and everyone else for chiming in tonight. Felix, Geneva. I know I had some people that were watching too, so thank you so much for joining us tonight. Super appreciative. And David, you're up.
Well, I cannot express enough how appreciative I am for this opportunity. Really, just because I know that Krista and Cris, you both could stay contained in a bubble and say we don't want to do anything like this, because me and KP, we have a small time setup here, right? But the two of you decided to grace us with your presence, so I cannot thank you enough for sharing your Wednesday evening with us. We really, really appreciate it. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we
loved it. Thank you so much.
We loved it. Thank you for having us, and thank you. It was so great, and so glad we could have this conversation. I think it was amazing.
Thank you. Really enjoyed meeting you, gentlemen. Really
Thank
awesome.
You.
Thank you.
Yeah. And make sure you tell your friends to like and subscribe.
Absolutely.
Like and subscribe.
No problem. Like and subscribe. Yes.
Like and subscribe. So little housekeeping. Obviously, the podcast is going to be available on YouTube, but probably within the next 24 to 48 hours, it's going to be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it today, if you didn't get a chance to listen to it today, anybody who hears this in the future, like and subscribe, share with your friends, send the link to somebody and say, hey, you should watch this. We would greatly appreciate it. We really enjoyed the conversation tonight. I can definitely say that this is something that we've been looking forward to for the last couple of weeks. Me and Krista have been connected on social media for quite some time.
Yeah.
So it was obviously a pleasure to get an opportunity to speak to you and talk about your story. So
Krista, I'm not on Facebook, the old people site.
He is on there. He's on there.
That's so funny. Okay.
He's on there. He is on there.
Okay.
He may not check it a lot, but he on there with us, with the uncles and the aunties. He's on there. But outside of that, we thank everybody for checking in. We thank Geneva, Felix, everybody who watched in the chat. I was watching the watch count. We had quite a few people watching. We got some likes, we got some love. So everybody keep pouring out the love and the support. We're gonna keep bringing you guys shows. Next week, we're gonna be back next Wednesday. So be looking forward to that. But until then, Everybody be safe. Love those that are close to you. Appreciate everybody while you have an opportunity to. And we'll see you guys in a week.
Thank you.
Bye.